Welcome back. We're officially 7 weeks into the SOS 20-week live challenge. And if this is your first time joining us live, let me tell you quickly why we are here. I spent over 40 years on the other side of the table, evaluating proposals, managing 143 billion in federal contracts, and watching businesses win big or fall apart before they ever got started. And the pattern that kept showing up and had nothing to do with talent. It was structure, systems, revenue strategy, and readiness. Now, the most capable business owners were the ones quietly struggling, not because they couldn't do the work, but because their business wasn't built to hold the growth they were chasing. So I'm doing something about it. We started this on April the 8th, going live at 2 p.m. every single Wednesday for 20 weeks. One topic, one teaching moment, and one shift per week. Now, today is week 7, so let's get into it. So, before we get into today's topic, I want to start the same way I have the last 2 weeks, and that's by grounding you in what is actually moving in our regulatory landscape. Because part of what I'm going to teach you today about overwhelm starts with this: you cannot triage what you do not see clearly. One, the DoD just dropped a new proposed rule on FOCI, that's the Foreign Ownership Control or Influence, on May 18th. So, up until now, FOCI disclosure obligations were largely limited to contractors holding security clearances. Now, this proposed rule would expand beneficial ownership and FOSI disclosure obligations to a much broader set of federal contractors and subcontractors. So, if you have any foreign investors, foreign minority owners, 40 foreign board members, or even foreign source capital in your business, this is a new compliance lift coming at you. Perlero Mazzo just published an analysis this week walking through what it means. So I want you to check that out. Two, Senate Bill 4390 and its House Companion Bill HR 8511, the Ending Discrimination in Government Contracting Act, are still sitting in committee. But the legal community is sharpening its commentary. Again, Pilero and Mazda yesterday, May 19th, they actually published a piece actually confirming what I told you in week 5. These bills essentially gut the statutory basis for the WASP program and the 8A program. Morrison Forrester, called it out. They called it a shot across the bow, earlier this month. And so the bills have not moved out of committee yet, but the policy intent is now in the record and being watched by every major, federal contracts firm in this country. Number 3, the FAR F 52-222-90 deadline is 65 days away. July the 24th is your deadline to modify existing contracts to incorporate the new clause. DCI Consultant is projecting roughly 6,825 audits tied to this. Noncompliance is suspension and debarment grounds, not a fine, not a warning, suspension and debarment. And the fourth thing is the SBA RFI window. It closed 2 days ago. That's the scaling critical suppliers and the supply chain gaps and entrepreneurship assistant request for information. Again, it closed on the 18th of May. So if you submit it, again, your voice is in the record. And if you didn't, that opportunity to shape policy from the inside is actually now behind us. So I want you to drop a 1 in the chat if any of those 4 updates were new to you, because I want to see, how many of you are actually tracking this in real time and how many are just hearing it here, first. And again, this is no judgment, and that's why we do this. So what I need you to do right now, though, is just for a second, is not because I want to slow you down, but because when you are operating from overwhelm, you are making your worst decisions. So you are prioritizing wrong. You are reactive. you are spinning wheels and calling it momentum. And here is what I want you to hear me say, very clearly. If you just listen to those four policy updates and felt your chest tighten, if you felt that wave of, oh my God, what else don't I know? That is not weakness. That is the rational response to this environment we are operating in right now. A new DOD rule, two bills threatening certifications you built your business around, a compliance deadline with audits attached, a closed RFI window, all in the same week. So overwhelm is not a sign that you're doing too much. Overwhelm is a signal that your system or your lack of one has exceeded your capacity to manage it. And so, in a policy environment moving this fast, your old system is not going to be enough. So, let's talk about what's actually happening and what we can do about it today. So, there are two types of overwhelm. We have, and actually, both of them, or each of them, they require different solutions. So, the first is volume overwhelm. You simply have too much to do and not enough time or people. And then the second is clarity overwhelm. You have a manageable amount to do, but you don't know what matters most. So everything feels equally urgent and your brain cannot prioritize. So the mistake most people make is treating all overwhelm like a time problem. They try to get more done. We wake up earlier, work later. But if the issue is clarity, if everything on your list feels like a priority, more time doesn't solve it. You will just fill the extra hours with just more unfocused activity, right? And right now, with this policy churn, a lot of you are in clarity overwhelm and don't know how, and you don't know it actually. You're not actually behind on the work, you're behind on knowing which work matters most given what is changing around you. So which one, is yours right now? Do we have too much on our plate or not sure, what to focus on? So I want you to drop a one for volume overwhelm or two for clarity overwhelm. But the truth is, you're not overwhelmed because you have too much to do. You're overwhelmed because you haven't decided what you are not going to do. So every yes is a no to something else, right? Every task you keep on your list is taking mental energy when you're not working on it. So overwhelm is the cost of not making hard decisions about priority. And I say this from experience because even in federal contracting, we made decisions about priorities, under deadline pressures all the time. Yeah, and when I managed the $128 billion VA portfolio for CCN, the question was never can we do everything. The question was always what matters most. Right now, given what we actually knew or what we still know today at that point in time. So that discipline, it saved projects. That same discipline is what will save your business through this regulatory transition. So here are three triage frameworks to break out of overwhelm. And I want you to apply each one to the policy environment we just talked about or just walked through, right? So, first, I want you to run the only I can do this filter. Take your entire to do list and put every single item through one question. Is this something that only I can do, or could someone else do this? Be ruthless. Reading every line of that new DOD FOCI proposed rule yourself, that can be delegated to a compliance attorney or a consultant. You tracking S4390's movement out of committee? You can subscribe to One Good newsletter and outsource the watching. Drafting your FAR 52-222-90 contract modification language, template it. Then have your operations lead handle the mechanics. What only you can do is decide how your business positions through this. The rest delegates. The second thing is I want you to use a three priority daily rule, not 10, not 20, three. Every morning before you open your email, I want you to write down the three things that if nothing else happens today would make it a successful day for your business. Not your to-do list, your priorities. So for the next 65 days, one of those three for many of you should be FAR 52222-90 compliance. Pick the three that matters most this week and let the rest wait. Three things, that's it. This sounds too simple until you try to pick just three. And then you realize the hard part is the choosing, not the doing. And then the third thing, I want you to schedule a weekly brain dump and reset. Before Monday, not during it, every Friday or Sunday, take 20 minutes, get everything out of your head and onto a list, including the policy items you're tracking. Then organize it. What's time sensitive? FAR 52222-90 is time sensitive. What's important but not urgent? Watching S4390. What can wait? Reading every law firm think piece. What can be dropped? Going into Monday with intentionality instead of starting every week by reacting to your boss is the difference between being a CEO and being a clerk. So what I want you to do is I want you to share this live right now. If you have a friend or a colleague who is really running on empty, they need to hear that overwhelm is a system problem, not a character flaw. And that the antidote in a moving policy environment is triage, not effort. So we spend time, in the SOS community, specifically on this, helping leaders, build those operating rhythms that don't leave them drowning. Because you cannot build a great business if you are constantly in crisis management mode. And that's the harsh reality of it all. And you certainly cannot navigate a regulatory environment like this, from from a place of panic. For those of you who need a deeper strategic work on positioning your business through this policy transition, the FOCI rule, the certification bills, the FAR clause, the conversions, again, is where we, go past triage into a real plan. And so that's the next step. If you're not in the SOS group, just drop breathe in the comments and we'll make sure you get connected, or you could just go put in your request and we'll admit you. If you want my weekly regulatory snapshot delivered to your inbox, so you can stop trying to track this yourself, please drop brief and I will get it to you. I am leaving on bereavement leave after this here, so be mindful of that, but I'll get it to you. The goal isn't to do more. The goal is to do the right things clearly, consistently, and without losing your mind. So in an environment that is going to keep moving, whether we are ready or not, you deserve a business that doesn't exhaust you, and you deserve a strategy that doesn't depend on you reading every Federal Register notice yourself at 5 a.m. 7 weeks. So we are 7 weeks in and we are building this together. And so I'll see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. So be blessed and I see you next week. Bye-bye.